Welcome back to Age of Rebellion with Tabletop Nerdcast, and this is Galactic Youth. Now, last time on Galactic Youth...
You did this!
Take me to the clink.
Needless to say...
I don't know why I looked at my microphone when I said that and not the camera.
Because I'm looking up.
Here we are.
It just happened. Let's just go with it.
Now we're juvenile delinquents, man.
Woo. For those of you on the stream, welcome back. Thanks for sticking with us this long. I know it's kind of a long night of recording, but...
Jedi Juvie.
I've lost it. I've lost it. It's over with.
Hey, man, speak for yourself, man.
Sorry.
Anyway, for those of you that are watching this on YouTube after we've posted these videos, we've got a whole lot of shenanigans going on at the table. We're getting late, we're getting tired, we're getting punchy, but it's getting fun.
It's happening.
So, with that said, click that subscribe button, hit the like button, leave us a comment, ring the bell, learn whenever we got something else coming up, because we have a ton of content that is coming out. But again, we're going to dive right back into this because, well, my voice is getting tired. And I still got a whole session to make it through.
That's what we do, man. I won't in.
So at this point, everyone has been loaded onto transports and felt the transports take off. You know, obviously, as I described the beginning of the scene very early on, it was already nighttime. So it's just gotten darker and darker. All right. This vehicle, unlike most military vehicles, you can see out the viewport. There doesn't appear to be a pilot. There's a droid slot that you see that's sitting over to the side. And you can only see what looks like the bottom half of the droid, and you can only imagine that the top is what looks like an R-series droid that is piloting this vehicle. And within a matter of maybe 10 to 15 minutes worth of flight time, you feel the speeder start to slow down and come to a landing. Door slides open. The two troopers are standing there. The officer steps off. And a few moments later, it looks like several more troopers. But there's also some additional people with them. What looks like guards. Just generic guards. Security elements. That come in and they begin to reattach binders to you. And then they unhook the mag locks. But as they do this, it's two of them working in tandem, and they connect the mag locks to each other's binders. And in 2 by 2, you're led off of this vehicle and stood up in a small formation just outside the vehicle.
Like Noah's Ark in reverse.
That's a good way to put it.
Yeah.
This time, everybody is the same type of animal, and they're making it off. And they're being kicked off. Anyway, there's no rain. There's a plot twist for you.
Yeah.
All right. Suddenly, a giant whale comes out and swallows Jonah.
Not another space whale. What do they call them? Pogars or
Purgils.
Purgils.
So anyway, for those of you that don't get that reference, go back and watch our first Star Wars episodes.
Do it.
All right. So now, you guys are all lined up, and then the two what looks like guards are now sitting in front of the procession, and then two stormtroopers are standing behind the procession. Each procession's got maybe about 30 people or so in it, just enough that you were able to fill all the seats. So I think there's about 32 seats on each one of these vehicles. So that's about what we're looking at. And as you step out, like most Imperial buildings, it's made of a Durasteel or Duracrete exterior. And you just see this single large, what would have been a banner, but it's just painted to the side. And it has an Imperial logo that is resting over it. And it's just a spherical building. And you're escorted through a set of blast doors. Like most Imperial buildings, as you enter, the interior is very clean. It's got that metallic black lined floors and walls. lights kind of sitting, kind of pulsating off the side a little bit, just enough to add light in without being overbearing. The exterior, again, is a round shell. This prison, as you are brought into this, you pass by what looks like meters thick worth of this duracrete. The troopers have arranged you almost like they have ADHD. You've got younger folks, smaller folks up in the front, and you've got older folks and taller folks that are back in the back. Maybe this is to help you kind of process better. Who knows? But the entire security force, or the entire procession, is flanked by security forces about every 10 feet. So they're spaced off just a little bit to the side as you're passing by, with escorts in the front and escorts in the back.
Good day. Have a good day, man. When do we get
As
to
you
eat?
continue further and deeper into this, you pass by a very basic, non-discrete blast door. It's wide open, but it's very large. Almost would be like a speeder hangar door. You can make out that this appears to be from where you've landed. You're still on the lowest level. You begin to pass by, and offices and buildings and hallways and closets are all just branching off of this main entrance. And a small sign sitting in the center around a little bitty just information terminal that you can see, or computer terminals that you can see a few folks that are sitting there working on, doing the administrative and bureaucratic, work, says Coruscant or Coruscant Central Detention Processing. Orange is the new black, people.
Man, this is unusual looking hotel you're taking us to.
Each group of prisoners is marched, and you're just one of these processions, one of these groups of 30 some odd people that are being brought through at a time. And you're being marched by a man that is wearing a very clean white Imperial uniform with a black cape draped off his back. There's no rank.
His hair?
Say again?
What color is his hair?
His hair is thinning. It's very light brown. What stands out mostly to you at this point?
I thought I knew who it was.
What stands out to you at this point is that he has a black band stretching across his eyes.
Cool shades, man. Are those for sale?
He's paying no never mind to what you're saying at this point.
Big data.
There is no rank, and there is no code cylinders on his uniform. An aide is standing with him, and he's holding a data pad, and you can see him constantly typing on that data pad. And he's listening to what this man is saying, and he's capturing every single word, almost like he's hanging on it. This man is staring intently at each group of prisoners that is passing by, and he's standing slightly to the side of where that central processing, portion is. Each group is brought up to that central processing point and is stopped temporarily, and information is being handed off from the security officer that's standing at the front to the personnel that are working that, and then being handed back a different data pad in exchange. As these prisoners are passing by this gentleman in the white suit, he's occasionally pointing towards individuals. Some men, some women, some children, some aliens, some are human. It doesn't seem to make sense at the time. Each one of these individuals, at least the adults, are being separated off and taken off into one of these side rooms. They're being escorted by 2 troopers at a time. And each one of the rooms that you see them being taken to is labeled as interrogation. All right? So, with that said, He then leans over and has a few words with his aide, and his aide logs some more information. And you can see that the aide is desperately trying to keep up to make sure that as he points out individuals, he's trying to log their information and log, which rooms they're being sent to. Although his demeanor does not change when he's pointing at the adults, he does take pause when he has to point at a child. And you can almost see it's almost a painful look on his face when he says, that one, that one. And as he's picking out, and there's only maybe one or two that are happening in each one of these processions that are happening in front of you. As your group passes by, he takes a long look at a young human female that's directly in front of you. And he nods and mumbles something over to his aide. He continues to look at the columns as he's, ultimately glancing past you and looking through each person that's passing by. And as you pass by, he quickly cuts a glance right back in y'all's general direction. I would like each one of you to make me a 3 red discipline check.
All right. Good thing I took all those ranks.
For those seasoned in Star Wars, I think you probably have some clue of what is going on right now.
Now, does my setback from earlier apply?
We have not used it, so I'm going to make you use it.
Ooh, that's not good. Do I really need to roll another red die?
All right, don't say anything yet.
So for this one, red die, green die.
3 of those.
3 of those, yes. And then none of the green die, just the red. Correct.
And it's your discipline.
Yes.
So it's based on your willpower,
Okay, so
which is 3.
With
Okay.
this, for argument's sake, because each one is independent, I'm going to give you back 1 light side point for each one of you.
Oh, so nice.
Reroll that one.
And just for those that are out there, I'm expecting failures. I'm just going to say it.
That's how bad we
So the
failed.
penguins and the targets.
Oh, do we get any?
Okay.
We don't
These
get
are-
strain back
oh,
or
these
anything
are
like that.
targets.
Not yet,
Okay.
it's still too soon.
So two of these will cancel out these 2.
Okay.
And then this will cancel out the failure on that die, leaving you with that result.
Hmm.
He succeeded with 3 threat.
All right. How did you do?
I washed.
You washed.
I mean, I had a lot of failure left over, but it doesn't mean anything. So
Okay. And
I washed.
you succeeded?
What do you mean you failed?
Oh, you failed with
I
3
failed.
Okay.
Well, a wash is a failure.
I know, but
Okay.
but
Oh, me? Is the,
So
what you call it?
success.
Success.
Blast.
okay,
Mhm.
with 3 threat.
Yes.
Yes.
All right. So your threat. You're already at strain capacity at this point. For an unknown reason, you just can't tell why. Maybe it's a body movement, maybe somebody triggered something. Your shock collar goes back off on you again,
Ooh.
and you fall to the floor, unconscious.
Is he near where we are?
He's in the same procession that you guys
Okay,
are.
I wasn't sure if he was on the same ship
Right.
or not or whatever.
So at this moment, you are unconscious.
Sweet.
For those that are still conscious, and we'll come back to your role here in a second. For those that
See,
are
mine was so
conscious,
good, we get to come back to it.
Dewey, some of the guards almost mockingly shake their head. Weak-minded kids. And that's all you hear as two security guards pick him up and haul him down the hallway into through these glass doors and further down, out of sight. Moringa, how did you roll?
Spectacularly, man.
For you or for me?
Depends on how you look at it. Well, I failed. I got one threat, and then the big D.
Ooh.
So he rolled.
How big was it?
What could be wrong? It's all good.
So he's getting the big deed.
Getting the big slowly but surely.
Doxodam?
All right. You flip out. You don't know what is going on. Suddenly you are just covered in terror. You just flip out. And you start trying to make a run for it, just uncontrollably. And you're dragging the poor schlup next to you with you.
Come on, Schlep.
That poor schlup happens to be
Oh, Lord.
Mr. Aaron.
Aaron.
You are now being-
run, man!
You now have a panicked individual with you that is screaming, and you can feel the shaking in the cuffs that you're bound with him with. And he's now yanking you over to the side like he's trying to pull you back towards the door and make a break for it. What would you like to do?
We can do it.
I want to pull back and, in a moment of self-preservation, shout, "Quick, I've got one."
Quick, I've got one.
I'm not. I so many things pop into my mind that I should say right now, and I'm not going to say
All right.
any of
So
them.
first off, you're trying to offset his pull, right?
Yeah, like he tries to yank
So-
me, and I'm trying
So
to
do I roll an
back.
athletics?
I want both of you to do a athletics check. No difficulty. We're going to do a competitive check.
Okay, good. I have a big chance of winning this.
Well, you do. Yeah, you actually do.
What'd you get?
I got a success and 3 advantage.
One success and 1 advantage.
All right, so I got
All right.
2 advantages.
So you guys have at a success offset. You're even. So you're just kind of in this tug of war kind of scenario that's going on. How would you like to spend your advantages that you've generated in this tug of war? Now, I would say, Percy, and I'm just going to take some artistic liberties, that this is where I'm going to give you a boost to what you were trying to do by saying, "Quick, I've got one."
But what does he have?
A rebel. A runner. I've got leverage to free myself.
Rick, what would you like to do, or Moringa, what would you like to do with your advantages?
With my 2 advantage or my 3 advantages, is it? That I'm able to get one of the binders loose and free one of my hands.
Like a fish.
I could see that. All right.
You know,
Okay.
he's pulling back and I'm pulling and pops one of my.
I'm going to
hands
say
pops
that's
out.
worth 2
Okay.
to make that happen. So you have 1 left.
So I have 1 left. And I'm going to yell, "Don't leave me bound to this rebel scum." No, I'm not going to yell that.
He's running. I'm
You're
not.
panicked. You're panicked.
Right.
Yeah, you're despair running right now.
I'm assuming that all the pheromones overwhelmed my
You don't get to
system or
suddenly have
something like that.
willpower.
I don't have any willpower anyway.
Yeah, I
That's,
know.
you know. I'm going to. My other advantage is that. Well, I guess I can't really make a break for it because I'm stuck there. So I got one of my
Yeah,
hands.
you're
free.
kind of in this tug of war, and you're freaked out, and it's so. If you would like to hold on to your advantage for
Yeah,
maybe a
I'll
boost
just-
later on,
Yeah, I'll
then,
do that because I
You know,
can't think. of
normally
anything
I would
else
say
other
2 to
than-
pass it, or 2
Or
to
I
tap
could just
yourself.
heal. I don't want to heal a strain because that doesn't make sense right now.
No, not right
So,
now. It does not.
Yeah,
I
okay,
agree.
So I'll hold a boost. on
All right, so I'll let you hold on to a boost die for later on. And as this scene is transpiring, we now have an Ithorian who is passed out on the ground. 2 people that are right next to him. So this Nautolan and this Twi'lek that are kind of in its tug of war back and forth. The Nautolan frees and slips a hand as he's trying to yank the the Twi'lek off to the side, and the Twi'lek lets out this scream. What are we saying?
Like a girl.
I got one. He's trying to. He knows something.
Okay.
Oh, wink.
All right. So I will give you an opportunity to roll a deception check.
Perfect.
You are going to be rolling against a hard 1 red. Would you like to upgrade?
I don't think so. I like
I would.
odds. Okay. That's fine. Never mind. It's fine. I don't like my odds, but
I think the situation, Dick. There we go. That's what I wanted to see.
That's not good.
No, I'm not.
did you get a
I'm not
triumph?
going against my.
Or did you get a triumph? No. Oh, when you set it down, there was a triumph.
I got the other thing.
I know, I saw that.
All right.
That's
Panic.
what you get.
Panic is overcoming you. You do take a strain in this scenario.
Yeah, I just begin raving and screaming about how I was just eating. I wasn't even in the park. I was just eating, and I got shot. What is it? I don't. I'm yes, repeatedly saying things like that.
Okay.
I'm not with him, though.
It's like, I'm not with any of these people. My
So,
parents
I
work
will
for
give-
you.
And now the scenario here is really kind of unwinding quickly. I will give each one of you an opportunity. Well, you can't.
No.
But I will give each one of you an opportunity that if you would like to make a hard red 1 perception check, you can. And this, I wasn't planning on being this difficult of a check in this scenario, but given the situation that is now playing out in front of us, I think it warrants it.
I am going to upgrade this check.
All right.
Yeah, it didn't work so well.
Ha-ha! I failed, but I did triumph.
Okay.
For whatever that's worth.
How did you do?
1 threat. Failed with 1 threat.
Okay.
I got
So you're
two
still
threats as
panicking.
well.
I'm going to go ahead and add one more threat, one more strain. Back to you. And what did you have left over?
2 threat, 1 triumph.
Take the threat as actual strain
Okay.
in this scenario.
Yes.
And as for the triumph in this perception check,
Uh-huh.
you don't. You see really quickly. You see the gentleman that's in that white uniform point over to your direction, and he starts saying something, but you can't make out what he's saying. And immediately thereafter, the security guards, blue bolts of energy, flash in on you.
So what was the success? Oh, I didn't succeed. Right.
You didn't succeed.
I failed. Okay.
So the success is you would have heard what he had said.
Okay.
But
My
the
triumph is that I just know he spoke.
the triumph is
What a triumph!
no,
Use words.
we're not done with what's
the man
going
who's
on.
been talking the whole time has talked.
We're not going to go.
Yeah,
we're not
yeah.
there yet.
Sure.
So as far as the triumph is concerned,
Uh-huh.
although these blue energy bolts start kind of flying in at you, the triumph is that they're just generally shooting at that particular location. Even though this is point blank, they hit 1 or 2 people that are around you, and this gentleman raises his hand and says, "Enough. We don't need to make a bigger mess than what we've got going on. I want those 2 separated, and I want them taken over there." And he points towards another room. This time, it's very audible what he's saying, and he is. You can tell in his tone he is very irritated. And both of
See
you are
what you
just
did?
snatched up by.
Me?
You're snatched up by troopers this time, and one grabs your arm and slams it back into the binder very roughly and locks and clasps it back down.
So I don't get to make an athletics check to knock him over?
No.
Oh.
Do you want to? more?
I'm terrified at this
more.
point, yeah.
That's true.
The aide is standing next to this guy like, he can't believe this is taking place. This isn't supposed to take place during processing. He's seen people flip out, but not like this. And he continues to kind of notate in his pad, these 2, and you hear him mumbling under his breath now, trying to keep up. Look at these 2 kids I gotta noddle in. I gotta Twi'lek, and they go in a room. And you just hear a mumble, right? And at that point in time, and as the group is starting to be led away, you hear the gentleman in the white say, "When I'm done talking to these two, I want to see that Twi'lek. Bring that Twi'lek to my office."
You get to stay after class.
Let's go. I want to do the office scene. I'm very excited.
All right. So the scene kind of wipes from there, and the rest of the group is brought through and processed through the check, and they disappear beyond a set of blast doors towards the center of this building. And just about that particular point in time is where you two are in side-by-side rooms, and they kind of push you in and lock you in. And all it is a very plain, basic room with a single desk sitting in the middle and a chair sitting, or a little bench sitting across the wall. What looks like just a holding cell, John.
And each one of us is on our own?
Each one of you is in your own. So, with that said, doing a time check here, so... first, we're going to come to the Ithorian. The Ithorian, you wake up. And you wake up in a cell. You don't know where. You just have this view that's going right out in front of you, and it is kind of a barred cell. It's not like your typical just straight vertical bars. It's kind of got a little bit more meshing to it, but it is, Durasteel, and you've got that same kind of, you can see out onto the catwalk and the walkway and to the center, and there's a small catwalk in front of you that you can tell is in that same very black, shiny material that's very clean, very, Imperial-esque, and then it looks like it just cuts off into a giant opening. And you can see, dominating your view, a wall. But at the center, against that wall that's out, a distance away, you see catwalks, several of them, and you just see troopers and security personnel, mostly security personnel, that are just walking these walks, and you see them coming in opposite directions of each other around the center of the spire, what looks like a curvature. So. In your cell alone, you see multiple bunks that are stacked up on the sides. Obviously some basic facilities that are in there. We don't need to describe basic facilities in Star Wars. It's not a Starship refresher, we'll put it that way.
It lasers your poop as it comes out.
Oh, yeah.
All right.
Hopefully it doesn't laser something else.
And this is
Gives you a nice little waxed feeling.
This is sometime
Like Brazilian
later,
wax.
and that you wake up in that scenario. All right. Now we're going to cut back over here to Moringa. Moringa, that same officer door slides open. Where would you be in this room at this point? Because again, it's just a little table at the center and then a bench off to the side.
Am I no longer terrified, or?
Well, your despair terrified is gone. I'd say that you're still probably a little on edge right now.
The despair is more of like a reaction that was induced.
Right. Because of my die roll.
Right.
I'm going to... There's a desk, huh? I'm going to be trying to get myself under control. And
Are you kind of drumming at the desk?
That's what I'm doing.
I kind of figured you were going there. So you're kind of in the mood. You're kind of starting to feel this beat, starting to relax a little bit. And just because of the way you've narratively described this, I'm going to tell you go ahead and knock off 3 strain. I kind of like the way you went with that.
Oh.
You specifically RP'd a way that you were gonna de-stress a little bit and recenter yourself. So we'll give you a little bit of a perk there. But as you're doing this, few minutes later, it's not a very long time. The door slides open, and you just hear this whoosh, and the door slides open really quickly. And you're kind of still just drumming, and you're caught in that moment. And you just hear this voice
cut it out.
Man, welcome to my office, man. What can I do for you today?
Why were you trying to escape?
Trying to escape? I was just at the party, and all of a sudden I end up locked up.
I don't want to hear that. Why were you just trying to escape?
You talking about back there? Right outside
Where
the
else
door?
were you trying to escape?
I was trying not to die. Why was I trying to escape? I don't know. I just, all of a sudden, man, I just got terrified. I wanted to get away. This guy over here, that guy that was next to me, started yelling something, and man, I don't know. I don't know why.
Are you a rebel sympathizer?
Hey, man, I don't care about all that stuff, okay?
Why would you run?
Why would I run? Well,
What do you have to fear? And you kind of have this, he has this look on his face of just, yes, what do you have? What do you have to fear?
man, normally I'm not really afraid of much, but I've seen a lot of people die today, and all of a sudden...
Enemies of the state.
Well,
Are you an enemy of the state?
I was out having some fun at the party. It was a big party going on, and
It
I
was a
out
riot,
there.
not a party.
Well, it sure seemed turned into that. Yeah, it sure did. That's a fact. It did.
So
turn
you're
into
now
a riot.
admitting that you were part of this riot.
Well, part of... Man, I don't know what to tell you about that. I was just trying to...
You don't have to
I wanted
tell me
go
anything.
home. I just wanted a good meal and, listen to some music. I don't care about all this stuff. You're barking up the wrong tree. Rebels, all that. Pfft, man,
When they found you, it says in the file, they found you hiding.
Yeah, I was hiding. If you saw them...
You had nothing to hide, then why did you feel like you had to hide?
Well, there's what's called hiding and there's what's called cover, okay? When blaster bolts are flying all over and people are dropping all around you, you're going to duck your head down. You yourself would duck your head down, sir.
You made a conscious effort to try and avoid our security protocols.
Well, I don't know about security protocols and all that stuff. All I know is...
And then you get here, and he cuts you off, and he goes, then you get here, and you're not even in to the facility yet. We haven't even had a chance to process and discuss what took place, and you're already trying to run and flee. What am I supposed to think here?
Hey,
That's
man.
a rhetorical question.
Hey, man, it was this. It wasn't me.
And then he turns around, he goes, that's a rhetorical question. You'll be processed shortly. And he turns and walks out the door, and the door closes behind you.
Man, what kind of conversation is that, dude? Man, you people are hard.
Moments later, a security guard comes and grabs you, takes you, and starts escorting you back down to
Is
the
this
main
where
big
you
glass
take me
doors.
home?
Oh, you're going home all right. Security guard looks at you. You're going home all right.
Really?
You're going to be here for quite some time, young
For
man.
what? For having a little fun?
Well, yeah, we're going to have a whole lot of fun.
I don't like the tone of your voice.
Better get used to it, prisoner. And as he pushes you through the last blast door, you look at the center foyer of the area, and you just see the base of this spire. And it looks like a tower within a tower. And as I said earlier, you just see rows upon rows upon rows, small catwalks at the center, and you see stormtroopers and security guards that are walking in opposite directions. And as you look across, the far side of what you can see, it looks like each floor has a little bit of an opening, what may be a set of rooms that's right there on that side. And you're in a section that if you look up right above you, it kind of looks like it has that same shape where there's an opening area, an open section. But what you see a few stories up, just off to the angles, is detention cell after detention cell after detention cell. And as you're led forward to a turbo lift, you kind of take a quick glance up, and this building is hundreds of stories high, of just cell after cell after cell after cell, and block after block.
Man, I'm telling you, looking at this place, I'm not going to give you a good rating on Yelp.
security guard escorts you into a turbo lift, and as the turbo lift closes, there's a recorded voice that comes on, and it starts going through what sounds like basic instructions of rules of the facility. And this goes on for just a few minutes as you're taking, many, many floors up. And as you get to an area and the door slides open, the security guards start walking you down this narrow catwalk and bring you to a cell door. The cell door opens, and you are pushed in with an Athorian sitting within that cell who looks groggy, looks like he's had a very rough day, as bad of a day as you've had, and he has this collar on. But he also has like a smaller collar on that's right at his mouth line. And he's just sitting on a bunk. And as you get pushed into the door, you hear the security officer say, "Yeah, this is going to be fun." Door closes and you hear him walk off. That's where we're going to swipe from you and head back down over here to Aaron.
Teacher's pet.
Hey,
teacher's
Aaron. All right. Oh, 2 seconds here. I need to grab a drink.
Sweet storytelling.
Not bad, huh?
It's not that bad. It's just setting up a first session, obviously.
Yeah.
We've all been there. Setting up a first session, you do a lot of talking. A lot more than I was probably prepared to do at the moment. All right.
I've only been there last week.
Where would you be in this cell that I described earlier? That it's a holding door or holding cell where you have a little bench that's sitting on the side. It's probably been 15-20 minutes at this point, and a little table that's sitting in the center.
Cuffed?
You're still cuffed.
They didn't cuff me to the table?
No.
Weird. Yeah, I mean, I would be kind of sitting at the table where they have a seat and just with my hands on the table where people could clearly see, just the biggest, most respectful gestures that I could make, because I'm sure that they're watching the entire time. Somebody's got to have their eyes on me.
That moment, door slides open. You hear kind of that same shh. This time, it's the gentleman in white,
Mm-hmm.
but his aide is standing next to him. And they both glance and see you sitting over the table. And the gentleman in white looks over, nods his head at the aide. The aide taps something on his data pad, and your hands just clock down on top of the table. And the aide
I'm
turns
hesitant.
to walk off.
Okay. I'm hesitant, but I slowly stand up and kind of bow my head.
You do that, and the man seems unfazed.
Yeah, sure. He could have reacted angrily, so here we are.
I could have shot you in the head.
That's right.
So before you stands a man, the same man that you saw when you entered into the facility. You're now able to take a much better look. And what you see is this older man where originally you may have thought maybe this banding was cybernetic eyes. But as you see it now, it's just some kind of leather style covering that covers over his eyes.
Mm.
He's dressed, obviously. His uniform is perfect. You have nothing you can see. There's not even an Imperial signal on, or symbol on his shoulder. There's nothing to his collars. There's no ranks. Again, you see no code cylinders. What you do see, though, is as he gets a little closer, you kind of see that his uniform has a general shape to it, like there's something underneath it. Something rigid. And that would mean that this man is almost a very gaunt build. If he's able to wear a standard Imperial uniform and what you're assuming is potentially armor, and he has his uniform over the armor. He must be skin and bone. His hair is a light brown. Obviously, it's very thin, and it's almost to the point of balding. The top is almost completely gone. There's very little sitting on the sides. And the table itself really is the main light that's sitting in this room. And as he walks in, he turns to face you, and the light's casting a really weird shadow on him. But specifically, he starts to grin. And he slowly walks towards you. And as he gets a few feet from the table, he stops, and his look shifts to a more serious look. And he says, Twi'lek, I believe, according to our files, your name is Aaron.
That is me.
Do you know why you're here?
I know that there were some rebels that brought down the statue of the Emperor. And I happened to be too close. I was doing research with my father for the Emperor. And we happened to eat at a restaurant near the
He cut you
plaza.
off. He goes, we have had a lot of uprisings and riots lately, and it always seems to be the same story. We just happen to be there. From my perspective, and from the Imperial perspective, we just happen to be there is not a viable defense. But I'm getting beyond that. Do you know why you're in this room?
I assume because the person I was attached to tried to escape and I caught them.
And you can see he's becoming a little bit more agitated in his
Perhaps
stance and view.
because something I did caused an uproar in your line. Unintentionally.
You do have a... Oh, how can I put this? A very large ego to think that you could potentially affect my world.
Possibly. It's something I
I'll
work
tell
on.
you what, how rude of me. My name is Atinius Tremaine. I oversee the intake of all the prisoners at this facility. The Emperor himself tasked me with this role. Now I have a very important question to ask you. You do support your Emperor, do you not?
Of course. I would not support it. Coruscant has been only great to me since we came here from Ryloth.
And what rumors have you been hearing lately about our glorious Emperor?
I would not call them rumors so much as lies. That the Emperor is gone, that somehow the Empire is crumbling. It's never been stronger in my eyes.
The Emperor is gone. That's the rumor that you've heard. We're going to cut through all the minutiae.
Please.
I have a little test for you.
Okay.
And at that moment, the door slides back open behind you, and his aide walks in. And he's holding a data pad. And he looks at you and says, this is simple. It's like a game. You tell me the first thing that pops into your mind. And he begins to go through and question you on this.
Okay.
I would like for you to do a hard discipline check.
Discipline. Is this for answering the questions?
Mhm.
Well, could I persuade you to allow me to roll charm instead? As a way of knowing the right answers and having known the government, and I've been around.
How would you like
plenty
to
of
approach the scene?
government officials.
I'll set difficulties based upon how you want to approach the scene.
I want to approach.
I'm
this...
intending from a discipline check perspective, but I'm willing
Sure.
to see what we've got here.
Sure. My goal is to convince them of my, not necessarily innocence, but my support of the Empire and the Emperor through just kind of clever, silver-tongued knowledge based on what I've seen with my parents' work and working close with like lobbyists and stuff like that
Okay.
within the government facilities.
I will say this, it is still going to, that if you're going to use charm in that capacity to try and change the scenario,
Mm-hmm.
that's fine, then we are looking at a daunting check.
That's fine. There's still better odds than you making me roll discipline. I'll flip a light side point. That's not good. Yeah, it washed out.
Okay.
Bummer.
So you try and charm him. You try and give him some story about what you think his face is quickly shifting from almost to a contempt. It's going from a satisfied view to a contempt type of view. And he goes, "I'll tell you what. Let go of what you're trying right now. Close your eyes and tell me what you see." Give me a discipline check.
Okay.
Hard.
Is it coming for you? Yeah, no. I got an advantage
Okay.
left over.
I'll let you hold on to that as a boost. And you try again, and you seem to fail. And he looks at you and goes, "I know I'm not wrong. That might be an understatement, but we'll continue on and see if maybe we're just not ready for this. Perhaps you need some further inspiration."
You are from Miral. I kind of open my eyes and look at him.
We're not talking about me, we're talking about you.
It is just interesting that someone who the legend says your people see without seeing could be so short-sighted.
At that, he lets out a grin and goes, "Keen wit. Maybe there is something here. But like I said, maybe you need some further inspiration." The
Inspire
wall
me.
next to you lights up like a television screen.
Okay. Like a television screen? Or is television screen?
It lights up like a television screen. And then as it starts to focus, he looks at his aide and says, No, bring up the live feed." And the screen turns to an image of your mother being flanked by troopers.
Huh.
And he looks at you and says, "Do you see this magnetic key?" Keep in mind your arms are still bound to the table. He sets it
I
on
thought
the
you
other.
said they released them.
No, you're not released. You're
Oh.
still on that table. You stood
Okay.
up and you nodded,
Okay.
but you didn't.
I thought,
They
I
didn't
thought
release
that they
them.
had let them
And
go.
he sets this magnetic key across the table from you. If you can acquire this key without touching it, your mother will live.
What a test.
Okay.
I want you to
Yeah.
reach out with your mind. Focus on this key. Command it. Tell it to do your will. Bring it to you. Tell it to line up to your cuffs. At this point, I would
Okay.
like for you to make me another hard, one red discipline check. Or would you like to try and approach this a different way and talk your way out of it?
I don't want to talk my way out of it, but I want to counter because I see kind of where you're going with it, and I know this character doesn't have the discipline to do that, but he might have the presence to convince the aide to do it for him.
Okay. So how would you...
To kind of control him, to move him. Like I think that's, I don't know, maybe that's a stretch. Maybe I need to do the thing that I'm being directed to do. This is maybe a little bit player mind playing into it a little bit.
I'm good with that. Well, you can... So if you want to go down that road, so which way would you like to approach that? Would you like to try and...
I think it would be interesting to me and impressive to this Marielin to do something a way he didn't think that I would do it.
Mm-hmm.
So like instead of using like, because he's obviously trying to get me to use some kind of force ability,
Mm-hmm.
right? So instead of using move, I use control.
Okay, fair enough. So at this point, what I would like for you to do is do a. Let's see. I'm trying to think how we want to approach this. See, I'm still looking at it from a discipline perspective because you haven't unlocked anything yet. You still don't have it. You're still trying to see whether or not you can work through that.
Yeah.
So I'm still on the discipline side. I like where you want to take the story, and if you're successful, we can go down that road.
Yeah, I think discipline still makes sense, but I think I would have him do it instead of.
So with that, I will say add a setback dice because you're going to have to counter the aids side as well. It's a very stressful situation at this moment.
Could I continue to counter and negotiate this roll to say discipline with presence instead of willpower?
I don't think so. I think you're too stressed at this point to deal with it because you have just basically been told, do this or
then I have to flip
you
a light
watch.
side point or there's
Okay.
no chance this happens. Because now you've had an extra die.
Uh-huh.
It didn't happen.
Okay.
Good gosh, I'm rolling all the failure tonight.
That's fine.
I rolled a despair.
That means the successes
all
are
the
coming.
failure. I've had like 5 or more failure on 90% of my rolls.
All right, we're
Oh
running.
my gosh.
We're running just a tad over, so we're going to go ahead and get this to where we. So, try as you might, you are looking at that aid and not looking at the key, and you just there's this puzzled look that's kind of coming over this gentleman's face, and the aid is just stoic. Nothing's happening. And the gentleman looks back at you and says, he laughs and goes, "You fail. Again. Even with proper motivation, you fail.
You said unfair test.
I know you're not disciplined enough. I know you don't have enough raw emotion here, which is why I brought your... Better yet," and he kind of looks over at the screen and snaps. The screen goes black. "We'll continue this. There's something that I just need to explore." Looks over at the aide. "Take him up to his cell." And he turns and walks out. Similar to what happened with Moringa, you are then escorted over to a turbo lift, and you see the same type of scene and are brought up. Few minutes of rules playing, things that were going on. Security guard takes you down this narrow catwalk, opens a door, and both of you see a door open, and the Twi'lek that you were attached to is pushed into the cell, and the door closes.
3 people in one cell?
It's got 4 bunks.
Okay.
Ooh,
And at that is where we're going to end the session.
I got top bunk.
Have it.
First person that talks about a prison wallet, we've got a problem.
Should I
Anyway,
get
with
this
that,
wine that I have?
guys, those are with us for the stream. We appreciate you for sticking around with us. We had, or I know I had a great time, with this. It's kind of a little bit of a railroaded session, but we got to get everybody together, and that's the way session 1s and 0s usually kick out. So at this point, I appreciate you all for sticking with us, and this is a point where we're going to call it a night. So
Super duper.
keep on adventuring.
Okay, bye from prison.